This meeting is being recorded.
Okay. All right, so Ben could hear us, and Jen, give me a thumbs up. Okay, thank you. All right, notice of this meeting is in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Law 1975, C-231, was posted at Borough Hall, and 2 newspapers, The Record and the Ridgewood News, were notified. Roll call, please.
Mayor, I'll call the mayor and council first, and then the land use board, as this is a joint meeting. Councilman Bonanno. Councilwoman Brodsky. Councilwoman Margolis.
Here.
Is present virtually. Councilwoman Marsh.
Here.
Councilman Pollock.
Here.
Also virtually. Council President Stern. And Mayor Rendo.
Here.
Okay. On the land use board, Mr. Kaufman. Here. Mr. Freeberg.
Here.
Mr. Sherper.
Here.
Carluccio. Not here yet. Ms. Marsh is here as a member of the council and the land use board. Mr. Panzo. Here. Mayor.
Here.
Land use board.
Here.
Mr. Dewan. Here. And Mr. Belgravini.
Here.
Okay, Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Okay, at this moment, I'd like to turn it over to the Land Use Board for resolutions. Sal or Corrado, want to jump in? Mr. Chairman?
Yep. First resolution we have, Mayor, is for a Spark application, which I have to abstain or recuse myself from. But if we can get a motion for it, please.
Okay, well, before you do that, the resolutions, there were 3 on for tonight, and they were all submitted in advance of the meeting to all board members. There were, however, some changes on the Spark resolution, which we're going to vote on right now, so I'll just go over those changes before I take the vote. The revisions were on a revised resolution, which was on everybody's desk when they came in, but I'll go over them. On page 3, paragraph 10, at the applicant's request was changed that to read that 1 tree will need to be removed as part of the construction. Was he determined after the hearing that he would have to do that? He will comply with the borough ordinance for tree removal. The other changes are on page 6, paragraph 6, which is also amended to read that 1 tree will need to be removed, and I added approval shall be required for the tree removal pursuant to ordinance. And in paragraph 7, provides that a drainage plan shall be submitted approved by the borough engineer if deemed necessary. If deemed necessary was added. So as revised, we need a motion to approve the resolution. All right, who wants to make the motion?
Nikki Marshall.
Nikki Marsh.
Oh, she did.
Yeah.
Yes, you do.
Do we have a second?
Councilwoman Marsh? Yes. Mr. Panzo?
Yes.
Mr. Freeberg?
Yes.
Mr. Kaufman?
Yes. All right, the next resolution is on the Veribi application. That was submitted to all board members in advance of the meeting to review. If there are no questions, edits, we need a motion to approve that resolution.
That's for 60 Shore Road. If we can get a motion?
Yes.
Councilwoman Marsh? Yes. Mr. Panzo?
Yes.
Mr. Freeberg?
Yes.
Mr. Kaufman?
Yes.
Mr. Belgravini?
Yes.
And the third resolution is for the Grossman application.
It's 11 Oakwood Drive.
Correct. Once again, that resolution was submitted to board members in advance of the meeting. No changes were requested. Copy was sent to the applicant as well. Unless there are any edits or revisions, we need a motion to approve that resolution. Motion.
Need a second?
Councilwoman Marsh? Yes. Mr. Panzo?
Yes.
Mr. Freeberg?
Yes.
Mr. Kaufman?
Yes.
Mr. Belgravini?
Yes.
Is that all?
Yeah, those are the.
Okay.
resolutions.
Thank you, Mr. Princiato. Okay, we're going to move along on the agenda. We're going to have the public hearing on the housing element and fair share plan, led by our planner, Dan Haubin from DMR Architects. Dan?
Thank you very much. Can everybody hear me? All right, I do need host permission to share my PowerPoint. Nothing. Oh, wow, the camera zoomed in. That's terrifying. Great. Well, so while I wait for permission to share my PowerPoint, I'm just going to introduce myself. For those who don't know me, I'm Dan Haubin from DMR Architects. I'm the affordable housing planner for Woodcliff Lake. And for those who do know me, hey, what's up? Tonight we're here to talk about the affordable housing plan for the fourth round. We're going to be doing adopting a few resolutions, ideally. Can you not hear me? Okay. Is that better?
I hear you there better than here.
Okay. All right. Understood. I'm going to move this away then. Tonight we're adopting a few resolutions, and the end result of tonight ideally is to do a few things. One, to adopt the housing element and fair share plan for the fourth round. Two, for the council to endorse that housing plan, basically providing the state with a sign that the council and the borough is committed to implementing the plan through zoning and redevelopment plans as necessary. We're also going to, I think, Wendy, tell me if I'm wrong, approve a spending plan, which will basically state how you anticipate using affordable housing trust funds that basically development fees that are collected over the next 10 years for affordable housing purposes, and a resolution stating that if for some reason you don't have enough affordable housing trust funds to implement your housing plan, which I don't foresee being the case for Woodcliff Lake, you will do what is necessary to fund your plan. That's sort of a standard procedure, but it's usually not applicable, especially for a town like Woodcliff Lake, who doesn't actually need to spend funds to make the plan effective. So I'm going to see now if I can present my PowerPoint.
Okay, before you begin, I'd like to swear you in. Could you raise your right hand, please? You swear to tell the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay, thank you.
I'm just going to go ahead if that's okay, while we wait for to be able to be shared. So just so everybody, it'll work now?
Yep. We just got to share your screen.
One second. Sure. For everybody's education, affordable housing has been a thing in New Jersey for about 50 years. It's was first basically determined by the NJ Supreme Court in 1975 in a case that's now called Mount Laurel 1, that every municipality has a constitutional obligation to provide a realistic opportunity for the creation of affordable housing, regardless of the size and how fast or slow that town is growing. In 1985, the state legislature passed the Fair Housing Act, which created the Council on Affordable Housing, COA, which was effective for about 13 or so years before it found itself failing to adopt constitutionally compliant rules. And in 2014, COA was determined to be ineffectual by the New Jersey Supreme Court, which triggered about 10 years of the courts administering the affordable housing process in New Jersey, and also led up to this past last year when the state legislature and Governor Murphy passed a law that that reassigned the authority of overseeing affordable housing in New Jersey for the next 10 years and beyond. The Fair Housing Act creates a consequence, let's say, for not complying with the affordable housing rules set by the state, and that is something called the builder's remedy lawsuit or an exclusionary zoning lawsuit, which is when a builder can sue a municipality essentially and state that they're not fulfilling their constitutional obligation to provide affordable housing, and request that a court override the town's zoning powers for one or more properties in order to build to a degree usually much substantially greater than what the zoning would have allowed for, with the caveat that they would have to provide some affordable housing in their substantially larger development. And that's why it's important that we try to comply with the state's rules tonight. And that's why you complied with the rules in the third round. In 2017, you entered into a settlement agreement with Fair Share Housing Center to determine what your affordable housing obligation was and how you were going to meet it. And you adopted a plan in 2018, which you then implemented through zoning and partnerships with developers, and you amended your plan in 2023 to account for some changes in circumstances that affected what your affordable housing need and process would be. I'm going to try again to share my screen. Still no. March 20th of 2024, Governor Phil Murphy signed a law that would set the rules for what is now called the fourth round of affordable housing, which lasts from 2025 to 2035, and will presumably be effective for the rest of our lives past that as well. One of the requirements of that law was that towns had to adopt a housing element and fair share plan by June 30th, and that plan would recognize the affordable housing obligation assigned to it by the state and identify how that obligation was going to be met. And once, like I said, failure to meet that June 30th deadline would open us up to those builders remedy lawsuits that I mentioned. The state had asked the NJDCA to determine what every town's affordable housing obligation. The DCA back in October determined that your affordable housing obligation was 423 affordable housing units. We were able to bring that down to 360 units due to flaws in their methodology. But also because you're a largely built out town, we were able to use a process called the vacant land adjustment, in which we took a look at how much land in Woodcliff Lake is actually vacant, which we define as unused and undeveloped, and how much affordable housing that could theoretically accommodate. And what we determined was the amount of land that you have that's vacant in Woodcliff Lake could theoretically accommodate 66 affordable housing units. There is some language in the statute that is subject to interpretation. There's a wide range of interpretations. We call it the 25% rule. The way that the language is phrased is that you have to have a plan that addresses 25% of your vacant land adjusted need through redevelopment. We don't really know what that means because no one's really told us, but we have created a plan that addresses the most severe interpretation of that in order to protect ourselves from builders' remedy lawsuits. So how is affordable housing created? Usually it's created through something called inclusionary zoning or inclusionary redevelopment plans, whereby a zoning requires that any new development includes affordable housing at a percentage of 15 to 20% of all the units in that development. So if you think about somebody builds 100 units, 15 to 20 of those units have to be affordable, and the rest could be market units. You can also use group homes and supportive housing for people with special needs and special housing circumstances. And you can also use municipal funds to and municipally owned land to create affordable housing in a way that does not also produce a whole ton of market rate units. So rather than having 100 units where 15% are affordable, you could use money to potentially build 100 affordable units in one place and meet your obligation there. The rule allows for towns to meet 25% of their obligation through bonus credits. Essentially, that means that some number of units can be counted twice. In your case, because we've determined that your land allows for you to plan for 66 units, 16 of those units can be bonus credits, the double counting of some units. So let me see now, still can't share.
Before you go on, apparently technically Zoom is not allowing you to share. So I just want to let folks know. I know the folks here have a copy of the PowerPoint. A couple of folks are watching at home. It'll be posted by tomorrow morning on our website.
Yes.
Unfortunately,
And everything I'm saying is also in the housing plan itself. So if you've read the plan, exactly, which is public as well. So anything I've said is, if you've read the plan, you would find it there as well. On that note, what I have in front of me on the slide, which would have been on the screen, is the compliance table, which if you're looking at the plan or have it in front of you, it's chart 24, which, let me see if I can reference the page for anybody reading along at home. If you've got your affordable housing plan in front of you, what? Okay, here we go. It's page 33, if you have your plan in front of you. So what this chart that I'm referencing shows is that we've got a plan that identifies 6 zones and sites that we're using to satisfy the 4th round obligation and to make sure that we're complying with all interpretations of that 25% rule I have referred to earlier. So the first one in the list is 240 Broadway, which was recently approved by the Land Use Board, which providing 7 affordable units, and it's eligible for 3 bonus credits. There's a second one is the Hilton redevelopment plan, which is conceptually in a conceptual state that's subject to negotiation, where currently the anticipation is 30 units, which would be eligible for 13 bonus credits. BMW redevelopment plan, again, a conceptual state that is still in negotiation, which at the moment, expecting at least a minimum of 68 affordable units from that development. 126 Broadway is pending approval by the Land Use Board at the moment. They're proposing 2 affordable units at their site. There's an existing boarding house, which I think has 14 total units for or total bedrooms there, but we're capped at 13, being able to use 13 units. And then there's a zone, the THO zone, that would allow for 4 affordable units. And so add all those up, we've got a plan for at least 140 credits to defend ourselves against any challenge to our affordable housing compliance. There's other components of the plan. The plan is 30 pages long before you get to the appendices, and those pages include demographic and economic analyses that are required by statute, as well as we're required to identify land and projects that have come to our attention. Oh, wonderful. Come to our attention during the process of preparing the plan, but that we may not have included in the plan for one reason or another. Let me just catch the public up. We have to assess whether the town has adequate sewer and water capacity to accommodate all the housing units that would be needed to be created over the next 10 years to meet this obligation, which you do, and statements on other compliance and consistency with such things as the state's redevelopment plan and sewer service areas. So that's the discussion on the housing plan component, which is what the planning board is responsible for adopting. And the next thing to discuss is the spending plan. So let me just have some water real fast. So as I mentioned, the borough collects development fees from residential and non-residential development, some of which is actually required to be collected by law, which can be spent and has to be spent on affordable housing. And so what we're supposed to do is create the spending plan that projects how much development fee revenue we're anticipating over the next 10 years and how we're going to use that to implement our housing plan. Every dollar that's received has to be spent within 4 years. In the beginning of this year, the Affordable Housing Trust Fund had a balance of about $516,000. We are projecting that over the next 10 years, there's going to be revenues of $340,000, give or take, in development fee revenue and interest from the accounts. There's previously an agreement with the United Way, which I believe we're expecting to contribute up to $200,000 toward the United Way to provide for special needs housing. You're required to provide this thing called affordability assistance, which is essentially programs that make your affordable housing units more affordable. They may include security deposit and down payment assistance for those who are eligible for affordable housing in town. And then you're allowed to spend up to, I think it's 20% of your historic and future revenues toward administrative costs, which are my expenses, your Affordable Housing Council's expenses, and the expenses of your professional who make sure that the housing units are occupied by the appropriate people. We actually don't think that we're going to need to use the full allowance that we have from the state, so we're projecting $271,000 over the next 10 years toward those fees, toward producing this plan, administering and implementing this plan, and preparing your next plan in 2035. As I mentioned before, we have to have a resolution of intent to fund, which states that we're going to use all funding sources necessary to implement the plan, even if there's a shortfall in our trust fund. I don't foresee this being an issue, but we're required to pass this resolution by law. So the objective tonight, as I said in the beginning of the meeting, is to adopt this plan and memorialize it by resolution immediately so that Wendy, your Affordable Housing Council, can upload it to the state within 48 hours, which is how we show the state that we've done our job and protect ourselves. After that happens, after that, the council is going to pass resolutions endorsing the plan, approving the spending plan, and this resolution of intent to fund that I mentioned. Ideally, that's what's going to happen. Rather, I'm not going to tell you what they're going to do. After the plan is adopted, there's a window of about 2 months where property owners and interested parties, Fair Share Housing Center, as an example, can challenge the plan potentially if they think that they can make an argument that the plan is not compliant, which I don't believe is going to be a concern. If it's a developer, they actually cannot force their specific property into the plan. If they are successful in saying that we have failed to meet our obligation, we can meet that obligation at any site that we think is appropriate, as long as we're hitting the affordable housing number that the court effectively tells us we need to hit, which we think we have. If anybody is successful in challenging us, we have until the end of the year to resolve that challenge. And we have to adopt any ordinances and redevelopment plans to implement the plan by March 15th of 2026. Meanwhile, over the next 10 years, the plan is going to be implemented by the zoning and the redevelopment plans that are passed to allow for some of the developments in the plan to take place. You have a professional called an administrative agent who's actually going to be putting the proper people into the housing units that are created according to the law. Any sites that are identified in this plan, I should state, just because they're identified in here doesn't mean that tomorrow they can break ground. They still have to go through the normal land use review process, besides the fact that they all require new zoning and redevelopment plans to actually come into fruition. If they haven't already been before the board and approved, they're going to have to come before the board. The public can come in and comment and review the plans before they are presumably approved. As the borough receives the funds that the development fee revenue that we're anticipating, it's going to use that revenue to meet its obligation, as I stated, with the affordability assistance and whatever negotiated payment to the United Way is appropriate. So that's actually the end of my presentation. I'm now going to open it up to any questions and comments.
Okay, before I turn it over to the Land Use Board Chairman, I'd like to ask the Land Use Board or the council members if they have any questions of Dan concerning the plan. You can speak up now.
Yeah, I have a question. I'm not sure really what we're voting on. There's no plan. I mean, if we're voting on to approve or not approve something that we haven't even seen. Yeah, confusing, yeah.
Want to address that?
Well, we got no notice. I mean, I got nothing after this meeting until I came here.
So the plan is actually online and it's been on file with the public for a minimum of 10 days already. just over that because we want to make sure to get it in ahead of the weekend, which was the 10th day. But I just want to point out that we fully intend that we're going to have to amend to supplement the plan, because you're absolutely correct. Some of the zoning isn't really fully worked through yet. We know that we have these sites. We know that those folks that have control of the sites have come in looking to put housing and are in negotiations. That's why you'll notice in the chart that Dan provided in the summary that there's more minimum numbers and instead of total numbers, because we're not quite sure yet, but in order to show that we're complying with what our constitutional obligation is for the borough, we're showing that these sites will produce at least that number. There are a couple that have exact numbers because, for example, 240 Broadway already came in. It got an approval last year. We know what that site says. So that one's already fixed. But things like the redevelopment proposed sites, those are going to have to be further flushed out. And we more than likely will have to come back and ask you to approve amendments once we know exactly what those plans look like.
Thank you. I just have one more question. What about this pilot plan? Where does that come in?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
Pilot.
That's something separate. That's not part of the housing plan itself. Whether or not a pilot is given would be a decision that's made by the council in the future, depending on what financial agreements are made and shown by a developer. I will say that pilots can only be utilized, though, on the redevelopment sites.
Pilot would be tied to an area in redevelopment, not fair share.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Dan Halpin here. I would just say that you should be thinking about this the same way you would think about the master plan, which I think you had adopted a couple of years ago, which, makes a lot of recommendations and statements about what the borough should do from a land use perspective over the next 10 years, but it's not the zoning. And that's the same thing here. We've got a list of projects that, your fellow council members and planning board members have worked together with myself and your administrator and Wendy, your Affordable Housing Council, over the last several months to identify to satisfy this obligation. And the implementation with the zoning that you and Wendy, I think, are talking about is something that's going to be finalized over the coming months. That's not the concern about tonight. Pilots aren't the concern tonight. Those all come down the line. And of course, if anything takes place that, while you're figuring those things out, that changes the circumstances of this plan, the plan has to be amended to reflect those changed circumstances. I don't know if that helps at all.
I think it's helpful to look at it as it is, in fact, a master plan element.
Yeah.
It is slightly different than every other master plan element only because of the spending plan, which is why this master plan element requires endorsement by the council. Generally, that wouldn't happen, but because of the spending plan, it does require some action from the council. But it really is just identifying what the obligation is and where we intend to meet it.
Okay. If there's no other questions, I want to turn it over to the chairman for public comment. Move it to the public.
Yeah, we need a motion to open for public comment regarding, resolution 2013. All in favor? Aye.
Yeah, this is.
Not on the resolution, this is just on the presentation.
On the presentation.
Scratch that, so that's open to the public just for the presentation.
Can you repeat the motion first and second?
First.
Second.
She's waiting. Any member of the public will be heard on comment. Mr. Nate. Look like you had.
Okay. Bob Nathan, Woodcliff Lake. I had a question for Dan, since I'm confused on some of the numbers. I understand reduced settlements 360. When you say there's a state calculation of 0 units, can you explain that?
That was something that I didn't want to confuse the public with actually, but so I didn't talk about it, but there's something called the present need, which is the calculation of how many houses that exist in Woodcliff Lake are in substandard condition and occupied by income qualified household, low and moderate income folks. If you had a number, the borough would have to provide money and a program for the people who live in those homes to bring their homes up to code. And then they'd have a lien put on their property for about 10 years, so they can't basically profit off of the money they got from the town. But the state says that you don't have a number for that, it's zero. So that's the number that I think you're asking about.
Okay, so Woodcliff Lake has met their present need as of today?
Yeah, there just isn't a present need. It's refreshed every 10 years.
So when we have this need of 360 units is going forward over the next 10 years?
That's for the creation of new units for the next 10 years.
And when do we have to meet that need?
Over the next 10 years, it has to be met, but it's not 360. It's really 140.
I'm sorry.
It's really 140 is the number that
Because of the credits.
It's because of the fact that we have a vacant land adjustment that it's I see your grin coming. It's because we have a vacant land adjustment because we're mostly built out town and trying to comply with the all interpretations of the state rules on how you plan when you are a vacant land town, as they say.
Okay, so at 100.
I'm just going to put a little bit of a clarification just on the time period. I think Dan did great with the numbers, but on the time period with this new legislation that was adopted in March of 2024, in order to avoid situations such as in what was considered round 3, where it went over a 26-year period because the legislature, COA, whatnot, failed to act appropriately. This new law already defines that round 5 is going to start July 1 of 2035. And then you'll get a new obligation for round 5. So everything that's happening now, theoretically, is going to happen all over again 10 years from now. I hope that there's amendments, because if anyone feels that this is rushed, you're absolutely right. It's because the state put the rush on us. They only gave from April 1 to June 30th for towns to adopt a plan, because April 1 is when your number was supposed to be affirmed. Many towns got their numbers in May and still have to adopt a plan by June 30th.
I know a town that got their number last week.
So if you feel rushed, we feel it too.
No, I understand. And that's welcome to the state of New Jersey.
By the way, this is Wendy Carioga. She's our special counsel for affordable housing, so that way everybody knows who she is.
Okay, so just say that number is 140 units over 10 years.
Yeah.
Does it make a difference if we meet it on January 1st, 2027, or meet it on November 30th, 2035?
It doesn't, but there is going to be a midpoint review period at the halfway mark. When we get to, what is that, 2030? It sounds far off, but 2025 sounded really far off to me in 2015. So there will be a look back period where we will have to say, if something hasn't been built, is it still considered, quote, realistic to be built within this time period, and provide the reasonings why. If not, we will then be forced to amend our plan to look for a different location.
And I think there is somewhere some kind of a requirement that that after being approved, the project has like 2 years to actually be built. Yeah. So there are some timelines, but like Wendy said, there's a checkpoint in 5 years where we look back to see what's happened and what hasn't.
Okay, so I have one other comment that I might have missed this in round 3. Maybe we've been talking about this for so long, but at one point you were getting credits for redoing the homes on Centennial. There was talk about we could give X number of dollars to have those homes redone, and we were going to get some credits, which I don't see on this list. Or did I miss that in round 3?
That was part of round 3.
Oh, that was round 3. Okay. We did that already. I'm sorry? We got those credits already. Okay. The only other comment I have is that on the BMW site, okay, if we're really getting 68 units, okay, that means the town is talking about putting 350 to 450 apartments on that site. Well, that's 15 or 20%. It's your numbers. Okay, if you take 68 divided by 15%, it's 450.
Something negotiated.
Are they both?
It's still under negotiations, and we're also exploring opportunities for different type of housing, such as supportive housing, where you get credits by the bed versus by the unit. So you could have a 3-bedroom that gives you 3 credits versus just 1 credit. So we're exploring every potential option to lower overall densities.
So when I see 68, that's 68
That's total.
credits.
Correct.
But those are credits, those are not actual apartment. I won't say units, but I'll say it's not an apartment, that's a credit.
Those are credits. I can't tell you right now if they're going to be apartments or not, or how many of each, but we're not anticipating that it's going to be all credits for a full apartment. We are looking at other opportunities.
Okay. What I get upset about when I listen to you people is, okay, we've already talked about the pilot programs. Pilot programs passed council. Let's speak about it. It's not, it's already done something that's passed. It's not a possibility. We know the people who we're talking at BMW, okay? They are apartment people. They're not building condos. Those are the people who are under contract to buy the site. To me, and again, not everybody might know that. I'm in the real estate business. I know what's happening. I understand what's going on. But I really feel that it's misleading when you speak like this about different programs and different things. That, Tom asked what the pilot is. I understand the pilot really has nothing to do
Bob,
with.
nobody here is misleading you. So like, I know the last council meeting you came in, like, nobody's misleading you. We can't discuss active negotiations.
Has the pilot program,
No,
have you voted?
hold on a second, right?
No.
Nobody's misleading you. There have been no formal discussions about a pilot, so it's not 100% it's going to happen, right? That's one thing you said. The number is going to be high. We have no choice, right?
Yeah, I get it.
Right,
I
the
get it.
state came in and said your number is 423 affordable units. We have no choice on some of this. But to say that you're being misled or things like that, we really don't have a choice.
But the goal,
Hold on. During the 3rd round, right, you probably remember what happened in Park Ridge, right? With the Sony property?
Yeah.
Right, they came in, they got rejected. Park Ridge spent over $1 million fighting it, and in the end, they built more units than they had originally denied, right? Recently in Riverville, they wanted to build, I think they proposed 52 townhouses on a nursery site, right? Got denied. Goes into court, they end up building 75 units, right? So to accuse people of being misled, we're doing the best we can.
I have no problem with the fair share housing plan. I understand that the state comes in. I don't have an issue with it, okay? It's just that when we talk about things, and I misspoke, is right, at the last meeting, you passed the ability to create a pilot. You didn't actually create the pilot. But
Just for clarification, at the last meeting, it was designating the site as an area in need of redevelopment.
Okay.
There's a lot of other opportunities that are open to a borough when you do that outside of the pilot. You're correct that that's one of the requirements for a pilot, but it's not the only reason to designate a site an area in need.
Right. Okay. Okay, that's it.
How you doing, Al? Richard Jagarjan, 34 Stonewall Court. I'm part of the Stonewall Neighborhood Association. Thank you. First time doing this neighborhood. So anyway, a couple questions that just because I'm learning a little bit too. First of all, are we forced to change the zoning to whatever these people want us to change the zoning to? Is the state forcing us? I mean, these are office buildings, or is it a hotel? Why can't it stay as a hotel? Why can't we force them to put another high-end 5-star hotel that we don't have? There's no good hotel in this area now that Sheridan's down. I mean, you got the Park Ridge Marriott, which is a mess. So I mean, like, why can't we have a beautiful 5-star hotel back on the Hilton property? It's a beautiful property.
If you know someone who is looking to build a gorgeous 5-star hotel in Woodcliff Lake, please give them our information. We would love for a developer to come in and want to build a gorgeous 5-star hotel.
Absolutely.
Somebody has to purchase the land and then spend the money to build something. So we don't always have a lot of say, but we are in the market for a gorgeous 5-star hotel with a minimum of 100 rooms and a liquor license. So if you know someone, please send them our way.
I already know someone. It's called the Archer Hotel. If anyone,
We have reached out to the
them
Archer
already.
Hotel.
oh, you did? And what
Yes.
happened? You weren't interested?
No, thank you.
You didn't you didn't sell them well. You needed me on the case. I'm just kidding. So the other question I have is that this affordable housing, my understanding is that with states where, this Mount Laurel project, obviously where it started, is because, they wanted to get people in lower income segments to come into towns like Woodcliff Lake to be able to get the school systems that we have, right? And get, kids better educated, et cetera. A lot of it's based on education. Am I not correct with this whole Mount Laurel? Was
No.
it kind of like the just
I don't
back in
know
the
that that's
70s?
where it started, but you're not incorrect that that's where we are.
Right, because the point I want to make is that this affordable housing isn't fixing the crutch of the issue. The issue is the school systems in places like Patterson or Trenton or all these things. That's where the problem is. The problem isn't to move them out of that area into our towns, which changes the value of our towns at the end of the day. So that's where it needs to be fixed, is the school systems have to get better in these other cities. That way these kids that are growing up can at least have a chance, right? So the other point, you mentioned 60 units, I think, based on what's vacant land that we are responsible for. Is that on top of the 140 units?
No, that is included in the
It's in-
140.
So we have to do 140 plus 60, so
No,
200?
it's 140,
140 total
even.
between now and 10 years from now.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, so we're obligated, so even the BMW property, we're obligated to change the zoning on that as well? We don't have a choice, there's no,
You're
Well,
obligated, I'm sorry, go
So
ahead.
I just want to
just find this-
clarify that,
Who's-
there are sites that have asked to be put in that weren't included. So you're obligated to change insofar as to meet your number, but there is some choice and deliberation that was done in order to choose which site seemed most appropriate.
okay. So
We're obligated to have a plan that that shows that there's opportunities for that number to be hit. The purpose of the plan is to have control over where those numbers are met. And the reason that any projects or developers are identified in the plan is because they were either they came to the borough or the borough came to them, and their site was considered to be better than, for example, zoning somewhere where it would have been right on top of a single-family neighborhood, for example. And obviously, as I mentioned, if we didn't have this plan, we lose that control. So this plan is basically to avoid being forced into having, somebody's site or another. Of course, if we found that any of these sites in the plan weren't good enough or appropriate when they came along, or during negotiations, we would have to identify somewhere else to put the units that would have gone there. Does that kind of answer the question at all?
Yeah, kind of.
So Rich,
Yes.
the Stonewall Court where you live currently is basically from a builder's remedy lawsuit.
Right.
By passing this plan by the deadline that Trenton enforced us to pass it by, we will be able to avoid a builder's remedy lawsuit from someone coming and looking at a site, saying it's vacant, and, they could, in essence, if we denied them at the zoning board, they could, in essence, take us to the builder's remedy lawsuit.
Right.
And that's the concept of passing this plan by this deadline, if I'm not mistaken there.
And if I'm correct, that's what happened in Englewood Cliffs.
Correct. Englewood Cliffs is another classic example, about 4 times as severe as what happened in Park Ridge. But, they denied it at the zoning board level. They appealed it. They wound up in a builder's remedy lawsuit. They spent, I think, north of $5 million defending it over a 4 or 5 year period. And if I'm not mistaken, the original application came in with like 200 or 300 units. They wound up with 600 units.
And the court took away their zoning.
They have
They have no ability to zone anymore in town. So
they have the hammer. They have the backing of the state, the backing of the judiciary. It really takes out of the municipality's hands. The best we could try to do is try to contain it within the parameters of state law. So we have to be very careful in terms of how we address these state mandates, because the alternative could be much worse. And Englewood Cliffs and Park Ridge and certain municipalities have learned that.
Right, and what's going on like in Saddle River? I mean, they've actually fought back, and I think right now they're just having it on Route 17. So the Rosie O'Donnell site, I think that, I don't know where that's, you may know better than I do, where that's going or if it's going anywhere.
I'm not sure what the status of that
I'm not
is.
sure, but they also put more units along Route 17. They had that ability.
Right.
But again, it's trying to,
If I'm not mistaken, that was holdover from the third round. That's not even the fourth round that Saddle River is going to be dealing with.
Oh, they're not even at the fourth
That
round.
was part of the third round.
Right, and what happens if the government changes in the state of, down in Trenton?
We're
Because,
hoping that this
it's very
changes in
possible
Trenton.
it could change.
That's a reality. That's what it comes down
just
to.
remember, it was a Republican governor.
Yes. Okay, here we go. I'm just kidding.
I didn't say.
Open the door.
All right, anyway, all right. Thank you all. I'm sure some other people would like to chat. I
Thank you.
appreciate you all. Thank you.
Hi, Lisa Yakman, 50 Stonewall Court. I have to say, I have spent so many board meetings yelling at Bob Nathan. It was so much fun to see him on the other end of it. This was worth the drive over. Okay. I'm not going to get into numbers because math's not my thing, but I can read a calendar. So today's the 24th. You have till the 30th. You're going to vote on this tonight. It's going to go through. I understand that. So no matter what I say, I understand. Couple of questions though. How binding is this list? Because my question is, what it seems like to me is that you're basically giving pre-approval to these sites for anyone that comes in that wants to develop and wants to put in affordable housing or high density or whatnot. They can point to this and say, look, we're already in the plan, and they can treat it as pre-approval. So I understand what you're doing. I understand what he was saying about it could be worse, and we have to come up with a plan, we have to show, but you're basically giving pre-approval for these sites, yes?
So again, as I had mentioned earlier, several either property owners or people that were under contract for properties did submit letters to the municipality, to the borough, saying that they were interested in being oh so helpful to get us our numbers for affordable housing. These are the sites that you're not wrong that it's almost like a pre-approval, right? But the zoning isn't in place yet. So things like setbacks and heights and all of those concerns that normally would come in with an as-of-right application
Right.
are still going to come.
But now they've
before
got their
land
foot
use-
in the door for the zoning board. Like anybody that goes to the zoning board is going to use this as a wedge, as leverage for
Well,
these
it's not
sites.
anyone.
Sorry, Lisa,
It's
do you
just
mean,
those.
For the location, I understand, but
you mean the
know,
properties
that's
that
how
are
it starts.
identified here?
That's what,
It
Right.
it
I just
opens the
wanna
door.
be clear.
It's no different than the zoning that gets in place for the master plan.
Right. No, I understand that. Believe me, I get it.
But I do want to
But I
note
just
that-
want to go on record as saying like it's almost like a fait accompli at this point. If you're on this list, can you, what's the likelihood of taking one of these sites off this list? Or
I didn't hear
is
that. What
that
was
sort of
that?
a pipe dream?
So
Yeah, once you're on this
Oh.
list as designated, I mean, even if these developers don't want to do it, someone else
yeah,
might.
I just want to point out, though, that out of the 6 sites that are on the list,
Mhm.
4 have received their zoning in the past.
Yes, but the Hilton site, it says designated, but that's nothing's approved. We don't even know what's going there yet, right? We don't have a plan?
Correct. So it is essentially an acknowledgement that we're going to work with the developer to develop zoning that is palatable to the council, that's palatable to the municipality and the residents, and you all will have opportunity because there'll be a zoning ordinance that's going to have to be negotiated and presented to the public.
Right.
So
And
yes, something is going there.
I get it.
But what is still being negotiated?
Okay, and because of that, and because I don't want to take up too much time, there's others to speak, and I can read a calendar, I just want to make 2 comments, and that is, I would like to step up the notification of residents on meetings like this, because I was sitting at my work computer and got a text in our Stonewall Neighborhood Association group text that we have, which Tom is not a part of because he sits on the land use board. But I just want to say that we have so many different mechanisms for communicating with the public and with the residents, and you know who wants to hear about these meetings. So if we could step that up, maybe, post something on Facebook, Carlos, I follow you. And then the other thing is just as a resident of this area that is adjacent to one of these designated sites, I want to go on record as saying that this area, this section of Woodcliff Lake has really already become overburdened for overdevelopment. It's all around us. Saddle River put in their townhomes. We had the townhomes around the corner from us. We don't know what's coming with the Hilton. We're already experiencing issues with flooding, with traffic congestion, accidents. So just be mindful of that going forward. That's it. Thanks.
Hi, everybody. I'm Kristen Thanasides. My name's Kristen Thanasides. I also live on Stonewall Court.
Could you just spell that for them?
Thanasides, Thanasides. As Lisa just said, I know a lot more of our neighbors would have liked to have been here. You said on the text chain, a lot of people said they didn't even know about it. So that was going to be one of the first things I said as well. If we could please make it more well-known so everybody can be here to speak as we are right now. I wanted to second the whole idea of overdevelopment in our area. The traffic, the flooding is a huge, huge problem for us on Stonewall Court. I know we don't have a real plan in stone yet, but like Lisa said, this is almost like something that developers can look at and have their foot in the door and say, now we're ready, we'd like to build here. It says we can build here. We also want something that's protecting our side, our homes, saying, okay, we know this is happening, but what are the boundaries? What's going to happen with the land between the Hilton and our homes? What's going to happen to alleviate all of this terrible flooding? I've spoken to the mayor. I've sent you videos of my backyard looking like a river from the Hilton. My kids crying, saying, what's going to happen? Is our house going to float away? And the traffic issues, again, we have a lot of children on our street riding bikes. We're concerned about accidents. We're concerned about safety issues. And there is, like you said, Mr. Panzo, there's a lack of planning. And you said that there was a plan that was put up about 10 days ago. I'm not sure exactly which plan you were referring to. Okay. Okay, this one. Okay. So as far as the actual plans, which you said we will have a chance to be a part of, like discussing all the details, when? Like when?
If and when.
Any application for development will have to go before the planning board. And at that planning board, all those issues you just addressed will be addressed by the planning board, because the applicant has to provide testimony as to what the impact on drainage, the impact on traffic is going to be, what the impact on the neighbors is going to be. And at those meetings, as a member of the public, you have a right to be present, ask questions, voice a statement of support or opposition. But tonight, no project is being approved tonight. The only thing we're being approved tonight is the location where affordable housing units will be located. It's to say it's a first step, it's not even really a first step in terms of the project actually being built. So you will have an opportunity, all those issues you raised will be addressed, and if the applicant can't address them satisfactorily, it's going to get denied.
Right. I think I'd like to say that I just sometimes feel like I don't have the knowledge of what's going to even really be discussed. Like I feel quite unprepared to stand in front of all of you tonight and express my concerns about where I live and what's going to happen and what's going to be built. And, I don't know all about these things, but I do know that it's going to be directly in my backyard. And I'd like some more information prior to it, like right now, for instance. Like, is there anything that I can do prior to the next meeting? What can we do to protect ourselves?
Every applicant for development has to put a notice to the newspaper 10 days before the meeting. And the residents, this is statutory, this is required. And they have to provide notice to every property owner within mailing notice. Every property owner within 200 feet of the proposed property. Now, basically, if you're not within a 200-foot area, you have to follow the newspaper. I think it's also posted on the borough's website. So if you look at the borough's website, it's a calendar of planning board meetings.
Okay.
So if you're really want to keep yourself informed, you go on the website 10 days before that meeting. And 10 days before that meeting, you will see a notice that tells you what application is being presented to the planning board. The plans are on file for the clerk's office. You have every right to go to the clerk's office.
Okay.
Or is it the building department? Maybe the building department.
Good. I'm glad. This is what I need to know. This is very helpful because I don't know these
So,
things. Okay.
And you can spend as much time as you want looking at those plans, and then, of course, it is a meeting, and you have to guide through that.
sorry,
Yeah,
we
we're
also, we have
also-
planning board meetings once, there are planning board meetings once a month.
I'm sorry, I'm not sure who I'm speaking to right now. There's 3 people speaking.
We have planning board meetings that are once a month, and we have council meetings that are once a month. And we discuss all of this at those meetings. We talk about future dates, what's going to be on the agenda. Everything is posted on the website. You can also email us if you have questions, and we'll answer them. You know, if you're not sure who to email, you can just, you know, go on the website, pick any one of us, and we'll direct you and, you know, to the right person. So never feel like you can't reach out, especially if you know that the Hilton has been demolished and something's going there and you want to know what's going on, reach out to us. I mean, I know we don't get a lot of attendance at our meetings, but we do try to be very transparent, and we all give, you know, committee reports at all of those meetings, and we do really talk about like what's coming up and what's happening. And if you have any questions, you know, about things that we have approved or haven't approved and what that means, reach out to us. We're happy to really go over everything and explain it. We're not trying to, there's no surprises. We're not trying to sneak anything in. We're really happy to talk about it. We would love for people to come to our meetings and talk to us about it. So thank you. But really, we are happy to answer any of your questions as
Thank
much
you.
as we can. You know, like we said, when things are being negotiated, we can't give specifics. So when we have a plan like this, what we're approving tonight is we're saying, this is the number that we can meet. You gave us this big crazy number. That's not realistic. We settled on, you know, a different number. And then we came back and said, hey, you're looking at all this land, but you're saying this is empty, but you can't build on this. This isn't going to work. So we are taking the numbers that they gave us, we're bringing them down to what we consider a realistic development potential. And then we're approving just the numbers. And some of the sites in here are designated, if you're like the Hilton and the BMW, we've designated them as areas in need of redevelopment at past meetings. So we know that those are going to be redeveloped. And so we've put them in our plan as like a placeholder to say, to meet this number, we're confident that we could use these places to do it. It's unfortunate that in order to meet, let's say, you know, 100 units and we're 20% have to be built affordable, that means 400 units are going to come somehow in the town because that's the way it works. Obviously, we have credit, so it's not exactly that. It is the nature of what we're dealing with.
Again, the issue with, my issue isn't necessarily with affordable housing. It's
Right.
with the it's with the overdevelopment as a whole.
So
it's not, it's
so
the collectively
the
what I'm concerned about.
development comes from the affordable housing and the lawsuits that come with it. It's a cycle. So we sort of have our hands tied in terms of what we can do once we have to produce these numbers, which we do. We're state mandated to do that. And all we can do is our best to really make sure that anything that comes in is in line with what we like to see in the town and the number of units and how it's developed and what we can, you know, we do our best to keep everything down without opening us up to lawsuits that, like we pointed out tonight, would subject us to much larger numbers than what we can manage. And so we all are working very hard to do that.
Thank you very much.
I want to make one comment. You
Yes,
know, that Hilton Hotel was there for a long, long period of time. If there's a new application for development and there are drainage issues, it's an opportunity to fix them.
Excellent.
And you should come to the meeting and indicate what facts that you're aware of and what drainage issues are of your concern. But it's an opportunity to fix it.
We definitely will. Thank you so much.
Hi, good evening. Frank Oriyama, 12 Elaine Court. For those not familiar, that's in the Woodmont section right over here. I just have a question on this.
Sorry, Frank, could you just do us a favor? Because I think the staff's trying to just spell your name for us.
Sure. A-U-R-I-E, M as in Mary, M as in Mary, A. And I'll do the talk about the text change. We have a text chain in Woodmont, probably 70 people, big, and people are very interested about this topic. So I have a question for our architect, actually. How did we choose the type, whether it's family rentals, family sale, and mix? how do we delineate those?
It's usually the determination of the developer and how they want to do it. Or what we think the zone. In this case, I think in this case, it's all, it's almost all based on what the developer is communicated. But I think in the example of the THO2 zone, we're making a presumption that it's going to be sales because that zone only permits townhouses, and those are typically going to be sold in some form or fashion.
So I guess the question would be, I guess the zoning board, the planning board has an opportunity to direct if it's sale or
No.
rental?
The municipality is not allowed to tell people what direction, if they could do sale or rental.
Okay. And when we're talking about affordable housing rentals, right? Like what income thresholds are we talking about?
So actually, at the back of that presentation,
Yeah.
Unless it got taken off.
It's in
now.
there.
Yep. No, it's on the very last page of the presentation because I always assume this question's going to be asked. It tells you what the income categories are.
Looks like this.
Got it. Okay.
That qualify for affordable housing in 2025, and tells you an idea of what is considered affordable rent. If it's for sale, what is considered affordable monthly cost for a homeowner based on the state's criteria.
Okay.
So that gives you an idea.
And when you talk about transit, you talking about the adjacent bus on Chestnut Ridge Road?
Yeah, within a half mile of bus.
Within a half
or
mile.
rail.
Right, so I mean, like the buses are already packed, right? You have issues getting on them, you know? So I mean, like, how does the state respond to New Jersey's transit's lack of transit options?
That's really irrelevant to this. The reason, what you see there, in reference to transit, is that the statute has different categories of bonuses. I mentioned bonuses before. You could count some units as more than one. So if it's within half a mile of transit, bus, whatever, no matter how packed it is, as you said, it can count as, each unit can count as 1.5 units up to a cap that's in place.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
If
So,
nobody else from the,
Please, yeah, come on.
Can't believe I didn't say it the first time. And semi only has to do with the affordable housing. But obviously, if you look at the numbers, we're talking anywhere from 350, maybe 500 units. As most of you know, 20 years on the Board of Ed. I look at possibly the number of students that can come into this town. That's at 500, you're 25% of the numbers more. It's almost 30% of the number of houses we have here presently. Now I know there is a statistic, Dan. I don't know what that statistic is based on apartments. How many people do they really think are really going to have children who affect the schools, and it's really not that high. But do you know that? I don't know if you know the number offhand. I know it's not that high, but it will
One thing to
bring
keep in
some.
mind, though, with the number of units is at least 20% of the affordables can be one bedrooms. And
Right.
only, a minimum of 20% need to be 3 bedrooms, the rest can all be 2s. And in the market rates, it could be more 1s, 2s, whatnot. And we are very cognizant of that as we start looking into what the developers are going to be proposing to make sure that it is a balanced split and not all, very large units.
Right, okay, because it's just what the school can handle and the money that the school needs to be able to run it.
Unfortunately, though, the statute doesn't allow boards to take into consideration the number of students that are going to be generated.
Right.
But-
It's always provided, they always provide testimony because there are studies out there that, there's one at Rutgers too. and
Rutgers
they
just
will-
updated their study, actually.
And they will provide the testimony because they know that's a concern. For example, let's just say the number was 50. The board can say, well, we're denying this application because it's going to be 50.
Right, you can't do that, right, yeah.
But as a point, that's also why we're looking into options of non-family units, with restricted units, to the extent that if we can get senior units, if we can get supportive housing, we'd like to try to do what we can to maximize
Senior
those
units.
numbers. We're trying.
But, okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Round two.
So a couple things. So I think we can be creative. Richard Gargan again. I don't know if I need to state my name, Stonewall Court. I think we can we be creative when it comes to setbacks, green space, parking, all that stuff? So that way we can.
Well, you can't make it prohibited. They're gonna.
Well, I'm not-
you have to
like-
allow the project to be feasible. So for example, if you designate the location and you make it physically impossible to put what would be considered an appropriate density, it will get challenged and they'll be successful. So yes, you can set the zoning, the bulk requirements, the setbacks, but it can't be, to your point, so restrictive as to make the project unfeasible.
Right.
You still have to try to meet the plan's objective.
Understood. Okay. And another point I noticed to bring up to Kristen.
Well, and that's another benefit of an area in need, right, is that you get to have a little bit more oversight. The council can have more oversight. It's not built by bulk standards of other residences in a zone, right, because it's its own zone. So it does give a lot greater ability to look just at that. And I think Sal had mentioned it earlier with the Hilton site specifically. One of the benefits of utilizing that site is, there was a lot of impervious coverage there. There's a lot of parking lots. That's all going to be reduced now in whatever plan moving forward. It's going to be less impervious surface than what was there before. And the stormwater restrictions have gotten so much more restrictive and stronger about maintaining and capturing water on site, not allowing the runoff,
Correct.
All of that now has to get built into whatever comes next, and that wasn't there before.
Right. And that's going to solve our issue on Stonewall, which I mentioned to Kristen.
Hopefully, yes.
Well, they have to. It's a new law that you have to contain all your wastewater. So who owns the buffer zone between the Hilton and Stonewall Court? There's like a 10 or 15 foot or 20-foot buffer zone.
It's owned by whoever it's noted in their deeds.
I don't think it's an easement.
It's not the town, if that's where you're going.
It's not the town. So is that?
There's not a separate lot there. That's part of the lot that the Hilton is on.
So the Hilton owns that buffer
Yes.
zone because it's the Hilton and then it's our property. But I was
Correct.
told that the buffer zone was maybe a state.
I don't want to
like
misspeak,
easement.
but it's been a while since I looked at the map. There may be there may be built-in buffers by the state because of wetlands or other regulations. It doesn't mean that they don't own it, but it does mean that they had to move off of it. They can't build on it.
Right. And with that buffer zone, would the setback be from the end of that buffer zone to whatever the first building is, let's just say? Or would it be to the, who knows?
I think it would depend on how big the buffer area is.
Right.
So if you already have, let's say, and I'm making this up, please don't take
We're
this
going
as
to
fact.
make it bigger before you go.
Let's say this is their property line and the
Right.
buffer extends to here. We're
Right.
not going to be able to get them to the other end of the line. We're going to have to let something in front of it. But
Understood.
it'll all be taken into consideration as part of the redevelopment plan,
Okay, excellent. I thank you very much. Thank
which you will have time to comment on when it comes forward.
We're coming to everyone. One last thing. Is it possible for people on Zoom to weigh in? Because,
So you have to come to the meeting. That was a decision that was made a long time ago.
understood. Okay, thank you.
Any other members of the public have any comment regarding the presentation?
And please make a habit of check our website because we post everything on our website. And I know Lisa said to check my Facebook, but I don't always post on my Facebook. And I know a lot of people check my Facebook more than the website, and I prefer them to check the website. That's the official site of the town, so please check the website.
Can I just, can I make a quick, oh, sorry.
First close it to the public. You need to make a motion to close it and then.
Yeah, I just want to say something really quick because I think I'm hearing a lot of questions about process, and I think I don't know if it's really been laid out that projects like the Hilton and the BMW, which I think are the only projects that don't have any zoning or haven't been approved, they need to have a redevelopment plan, which is essentially zoning, and that's going to, that's going to be coming out of the council. And the council has to have a meeting where they introduce that zoning. Then it goes back to the planning board who reviews it. And then it goes back to the council again to be presumably adopted. And then after that's adopted, there's several weeks to months before the developer who owns that or is going to work on that rezone property actually puts their plans out. So I think just if you're concerned about keeping track of when these things are happening, monitor. I don't know if the email blasts include agendas for the council meeting, but monitor those agendas. See if there's a redevelopment plan for the former Hilton property. Make sure you memorize the address and the block and lot. Keep track of when those meetings are. Attend. Make sure you hear what the plan is about. Then you're not surprised when it's suddenly before the planning board and you're wondering when everything happened. So that's all.
I don't believe any town sends out the agenda on an email blast. However, everyone
My
does
hometown.
post it ahead of the meeting. So and whether it's online or whether it's in the building or both, it's always posted generally, at least 2 days before to the extent known. So if it's not on there, more than likely, anything that comes on is more of an emergent nature than something like an ordinance.
All right, Rob, go ahead.
Thank you. If we have no more members of the public, can we get a motion to close to the public regarding the presentation, please?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Now, so we need to introduce resolution 25-13.
Actually, you need adoption of the resolution, which was a copy of which everyone has and was given to all members of the land use board before the meeting. It's resolution is titled Resolution Approving and Adopting a Housing Element and Share Fair Plan to Satisfy the Borough's fourth round affordable housing application. So you need a motion.
Can we get a motion to approve as drafted?
Well, motion to approve and adopt the fourth round housing element and fair share plan prepared by DMR Architects dated May 2025 as the 2025 housing element and fair share plan components of the Borough of Woodcliff Lake Master Plan.
I'll make the motion. I'll second it.
Yes.
Mayor Rendell.
Yes.
Councilman Marsh. Mr. Panza. No. Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Mr. Krieger.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Dumont.
Yes.
Mr. Kaufman.
Yes.
Chairman Bellini.
Yes. Mayor, I believe it's your meeting here on.
Okay. Resolution number 25-192, resolution endorsing the 2025 Housing Element and Fair Share Plan. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Is there a second? Roll call, please. Roll call?
Mr. Banana?
He's the rookie. He's the rookie.
I'm sorry, Tom, resolution 25-192, the endorsing the 2025 housing element and fair share. Yes. Ms. Brodsky? Ms. Margolis?
Yes. Yes.
Ms. Marsh? Mr. Pollak?
Yes.
Mr. Stern? Motion passes.
Thank you. Resolution number 25-193, resolution of intent to bond in the event that there is a shortfall in the funding to effectuate certain affordable housing mechanisms in the fourth round housing element and fair share plan. Is there a motion?
Marsh, Mr. Stern? Roll call, Mayor?
Yes.
Mr. Banana? Ms. Brodsky? Ms. Margolis?
Yes.
Ms. Marsh? Mr. Pollak?
Yes.
Mr. Stern?
Resolution number 25-194, resolution adopting fourth round spending plan.
Marsh, Mr. Stern? Mr. Banana? Ms. Brodsky? Ms. Margolis?
Yes.
Ms. Marsh, sorry. Mr. Pollak?
Yes.
Mr. Stern?
Okay, thank you. Motion to open to the public to speak on any issue, not just on this, anything? All in favor?
Yes.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Anyone like to speak on anything? There's a probably third shot at this. All right. All right, motion to close to the public?
Motion.
All in favor? Any opposed? None. Motion passes. Motion to adjourn? Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? None opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, everyone.